Hi friends. This week we are focusing on the oceans and on one particular animal that spends most of its life in the oceans. And that is a sea turtle. So this book today is called On Kiki's Reef. And it is written by Carol L. Molnar and it's illustrated by Trina Hunter. And this book tells about the life of a green sea turtle as she hatches, grows, and returns to the beach where she hatched to lay her own eggs. This book shows how many amazing creatures there are in the ocean and the dangers they encounter. But animals have characteristics that help them survive. And we're going to learn about some of those that a sea turtle has. So before we start our story today, we're going to talk about our words. My first word that I have for you today is the word coral. And coral sometimes means a color. Coral color is kind of like a pinky color. Actually, the dress that I'm wearing today, this is actually kind of a coral color that they use. This color tends to be called coral. But in our book, coral is a hard, stony substance that ends up forming underwater in certain types of oceans, and it starts to form reefs. We have places in the world that are called coral reefs, and you'll see it's like all these hard structures with different colors, and it's where like lots of tropical fish live. Outside of Australia, there's the Great Barrier Reef, and that is a coral reef. It is this huge expanse of reef that is all coral. Look, I remembered to put the part for words there today. Our next word is algae, which I think is kind of just a fun word to say. Say algae. Algae is really a single or multi-cell organism with no roots, no stems, no leaves, and it's most often found in water. So a lot of times algae kind of looks like green slime in the water. It's like this really, and it kind of sticks at the bottom of the water, or sometimes it's on the top of the water. Here in Burlington, sometimes they shut beaches down because of different algae blooms, because some of them are kind of toxic to animals and to people. And so they say, oh, don't go in the water because it's not safe. So not all algae is good for you. Most of it's fine, but some of it you want to kind of stay away from. But you'll notice if you ever go to the beaches, when you're not allowed to go in the water, you might see kind of like some slimy things in the water or near the water. And that would often be algae. I believe seaweed is also a type of algae as well. And our last word is journey. Journey, which is a word you might recognize, but it also is kind of spelled kind of weird. And so with this says journey, even though we have this OU that we know doesn't usually say that because it's a rule breaker. But the word journey means to go somewhere. And it could mean like a really big journey, like I'm gonna go on traveling around the world on this big journey. It also could be, oh, the journey to my grandma's house. And so it just means to go from one place to another place. Journey. All right, so we are going to get started on the book, On Kiki's Reef. A baby green sea turtle pops her head out of the sand. It's Kiki. She just hatched from her egg buried deep below. Kiki scrambles across the beach with her brothers and sisters. Birds try to peck them. Crabs try to grab them. Some never make it to the water, but Kiki does. Look and see, there's the crab. They almost wait for the babies to come out because they're so tiny when they're hatched out of their little eggs, and they can get them and gobble them up real fast. Surf and spray carry Kiki away. She paddles wildly. The wide open ocean is a big place for a little turtle. She searches for food and hides from big fish that would swallow her in one bite. Kiki is smart and brave. And one thing that is kind of fun about this book is that down in the corner, there's almost like a little summary sentence in the corner, and it's always a type of rhyme. So after I read the text of the story, I can look down in this corner and read a funny little rhyme. Kiki paddles, helter-skelter, beds of seaweed give her shelter. It's kind of like a little summary of what I just talked about. I love it. After surviving in the open ocean for 6 birthdays, that means that she is 6 years old, Kiki is larger. Her shell is brighter. Her flippers are stronger. She's big enough to search for a new home closer to shore. Colors and shapes swirl beneath her in the shallow water. So she's getting closer to shore. Maybe it's not quite as safe for her there, but she's bigger and stronger now, so she can still survive. In the water down below, a rainbow of corals puts on a show. And look how they show that rainbow in the background here in different ways in the picture. See all the colors and swirls? It's a coral reef. Corals look like plants, but they're not. They're actually animals. But they're not like any animals Kiki has seen before. Some look like fans, others look like tubes. One coral looks like a brain. Year after year, their hard skeletons build up to make a giant reef, a magical underwater island. And Kiki explores. Kiki's birthdays come and go. Kiki's body grows and grows. All the while, she watches the unusual creatures living on the reef. See, look like that one does look like a fan, doesn't it? All these corals. And there's other fish around and animals. Ooh, look at this little, what is this right here? Ooh, do we know what that belongs to? She sees fish of all sizes and lots of surprises. Oh, look at this page. I'm going to zoom in on it later. See the whole thing. Ooh, and look. Dun, dun, dun. Zig, zag, dash in, dart out. A clownfish snuggles into the dangerous tentacles of an anemone. Will it get hurt? No. The clownfish wears a slimy coat to protect it from the anemone's painful stings. Every clownfish has its own anemone, and these two are perfect partners. We know this if we've ever seen Finding Nemo, right? If you've ever watched that movie, they live inside a sea anemone. In and out and all around, lots of teamwork can be found. Ooh, look at this part. Kiki discovers some partners for herself, a gang of tangs. The tangs get free lunch by eating the algae. Oh, algae. The algae growing on Kiki's shell. And with a clean, smooth shell, Kiki glides through the water with ease. Nearby wrasses are expert cleaners too. Kiki watches them do a wiggly dance that announces, "Our cleaning station is open." A grouper swims up to be their first customer. Oh, look at that. So they're cleaning. It's almost like a fish car wash. Working at the car wash. When a grouper opens wide, then a wrasse can clean inside. Not all open mouths on the reef are friendly. The razor-sharp teeth of a giant barracuda are deadly for many fish. Kiki isn't afraid. She's too big for a barracuda, but she's not too big for an approaching tiger shark. Kiki knows so very well a shark's strong jaws can crack her shell. What do you think she's gonna do? Where you going, Kiki? Kiki makes a quick getaway through the seagrass. When the shark is gone, she'll return to the reef. Meanwhile, a seahorse uses a different strategy to stay safe from predators. Camouflage. See it? But do you see how it cut the colors and it kind of blends in? It could be a wiggly piece of seagrass. The hidden seahorse takes first prize for wearing the best underwater disguise. I love this fish right here. Look at how awesome he looks. So many colors, and look at his little face. Back home on the reef, Kiki hears crunch, crunch, crunch. It's the sound of the sharp teeth of a parrotfish scraping the hard coral for food. So it scrapes off the algae or any pieces of food or animals and things that get stuck. Are you ready to hear the best part of this whole book? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to laugh after I read it. Are you ready for this? Every bite of reef it scoops turns to sand when it poops. Yep. I'll give you 3 seconds to laugh because I know you're laughing at home right now. That parrotfish. Oh, man. I thought that was pretty funny, too. Ooh, what is this? What is that? While Kiki snoozes, nighttime creatures slither and crawl from their hiding places. A hungry octopus hunts for its dinner. Who will it be? Oh, I hope it's not Kiki. A shrimp or snail, or maybe a crab, whatever 8 long arms can grab. I think that Kiki is probably too big for an octopus to eat. That crab isn't, though. I don't know. Looks like he might be in danger. Kiki's happily at home on her coral reef. She knows all of the plants and animals, and they all know her and her gentle ways. When a stranger arrives, curious Kiki swims over to investigate. Who is the stranger? Look, do you notice? Yeah, scuba diver. So it's really important if we're scuba diving on these amazing coral reefs that we're not touching anything and trying not to disturb. We're just observing and watching the animals. A diver visits this magical place and meets a turtle face to face. Give me a thumbs up or down right now. Do you want to meet a turtle? Yeah, I definitely think that would be fun. Then one day, Kiki feels different inside. Somehow she knows it's time to return to her first home, the beach. She takes off on a journey of hundreds of miles. Along the way, a fishing boat pulls a net through the water. Kiki can't get out of the way in time. She gets caught. See that? See that net back there? So a lot of fishermen throw nets in and then they drag them, and that's how they catch fish more easily than using just a line. Escaping through the net's trapdoor, lucky Kiki swims toward shore. Whew, she got away. I was worried for a moment there. Ooh, look at this picture. I like the moon out there over the water. In the middle of the night, Kiki hauls her heavy body across the same beach where she was born. Using her back flippers like a shovel, she digs a deep nest and lays 100 eggs. They'll hatch into a baby green sea turtles, just like she did so many years ago. Carefully covering her eggs, Kiki's work is done. She drags herself back into the sea and silently swims away in the moonlight. It's beautiful. Along the coast and through the foam, Kiki returns to her reef home. Now, the awesome part of this book, if you ever have a chance to read it, I think that it's in my classroom if you ever want to borrow it, is that it has featured creatures on the back. So some of the animals that the book talks about and mentions, like the parrotfish and the seahorse and the shark and things, animals like that, it has more information about them in the back. And that part's kind of cool. And it even has some illustrious additions of animals that were not mentioned in the book, but were in the illustrations. And so that part is really cool to be able to look at. So you can always ask and look at that part another time. Great. So what I want you to do today is kind of be creative. I want you to think about all the different kinds of animals that we saw in this story. And on Seesaw, I left kind of a blank page for you. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to create an ocean scene. I want you to create something using any of the tools that you have on Seesaw. You could draw a picture and then just upload it for me as well. That might be easier. And maybe you could be more creative that way because Seesaw is kind of hard to use, right? To draw pictures, we've kind of found. But I want you to draw me a picture. I want you to make some sort of ocean scene, and I want you to include at least 3 of the animals that are in this story, some of the things that you saw. So in my picture, I made a coral reef and I drew some coral, some of that like fan looking coral. I drew a clownfish and I drew an octopus. And then I want you to write 3 sentences, and I want you to write 1 sentence about each one of those animals. 1 fact, something that you notice about those animals, something that you learned about those animals. So you're going to draw a picture, you're going to put 3 animals on it, and you're going to write 1 fact about each one of them. All right? Can't wait to see it. Bye.